Hi everyone, my name is Swam, and in this video, I'll be sharing one of my learning how we can deploy our front-end application on AWS. So without wasting of time, let's get started. So before getting into deploying our front-end application, I'd like to mention some prerequisites that you should take care of. Like first is front-end application. We should have a bit knowledge of front-end application, like what is HTML, CSS, JS files, and if you know React.js, that is a beneficial point. Second one is AWS account. You should have one root AWS account, which will be allowing you to use its services like S3 bucket, CloudFront, or EC2 instance, like that. Third one is domain name. If you have your own domain name, excuse me, if you have your own domain name, that's good. If this is an optional one. If you have, that's good. If you don't have, it's absolutely fine. So next. Okay, let's understand how front-end applications are actually deployed. So there are two ways of deploying front-end application. First one is you build your EC2 instance on AWS and you deploy your front-end application. You run it on a particular port, then you get the URL. Second one is you upload it. Second one is you upload it on S3 bucket. Then you use CloudFront as a CDN. Then you serve your files to the browser. So the second one that we'll be using. So we'll be having one S3 bucket in which we'll add our index.html file, JS or CSS files, or any images if you have, you can upload there. Secondly, we'll create one CloudFront instance in our AWS, which act as a CDN. So CloudFront instance is nothing but a CDN, CDN is nothing but content delivery network. It is a distributed network of servers which is located on geographical location and will deliver our content like files, and we'll use our CloudFront instance to deliver our index files, HTML files, JSS files, CSS files to the browser. Okay, I hope you guys understand. First is create React applications. So we'll go to our VS Code, create our React application that we'll be deploying on AWS. Okay. I'll simply go. I'll create a new terminal. One React application. I'll be using it. You can also use npx create React app. The system is getting a bit slow, so we'll give our line. I'll create React application. I'll use JavaScript. As you can see, our React application is created. I'll simply make few changes in the code, like hi everyone, welcome to my new video deploying front-end application AWS. Yeah. Save it. Now I'll run the application. We need to install node module. Just install. Node module is installed, and now we'll just run the application. This application is running over this port in your local host. We'll just open it. As you can see, this is our front-end application that we built right now, and we'll be deploying this application on our AWS server. So before that, we have to build it. We'll be deploying the build files on AWS. So like we have to This command will create the build files which are deployed, and as you can and the build command is done. As you can see, it is showing in the dist files, dist folder. So front-end application is done. Now upload to S3 bucket. So you have to create one S3 bucket, and there we have to upload all the build files in that S3 bucket. So be creating to go to S3 bucket. If you don't see S3 bucket in your home page, then you can simply search S3 from here, like S3 bucket. You can I'll be creating one new bucket. So clicking on this yellow button will allow us to create one new bucket, and we'll keep everything as it is. We'll name our bucket name learning one. Make sure you have blocked all the public accesses. Rest thing will be as it is. Just click on create bucket. Today is Sunday. Okay. Simply clicking on this button will create our S3 bucket. As you can see, our learning 112 has been already created. So we have to upload all the build files in this bucket. So we'll simply make sure all the files inside the dist folder you have to copy, paste it, just drag it. As you can see, all the files has been uploaded. You just click on upload. Close it. So upload succeeded. Let's close it. So now our S3, we have successfully uploaded our build files to the S3 bucket. Second one is create CloudFront instance. So you have to create a CloudFront instance. We will simply go to, I have already opened in a different app. Simply to be opening it in a different app. Okay. On the right side, you'll be getting one yellow button with create distribution. So we'll create one CloudFront distribution. So I have already mentioned it. CloudFront is nothing but a CDN service. So name I'll give for learning 112. I have to give a name. Origin access, as we have already restricted our S3 bucket, will give origin access control setting. Okay. And here we have to create a new OAC, origin access control, to access our S3 bucket. Create. Here what it does, basically our S3 bucket is restricted. So to access our S3 bucket by our CloudFront, we have to give some origin access control. Like you might have seen, you are getting some course error in front-end application. So what happens, basically the server doesn't allow your front-end where it is deployed, it doesn't allow that server to access the backend server. So likewise, our S3 bucket is restricted, and CloudFront will give some course setting that will make sure our CloudFront is able to access S3 bucket. Keep everything as it is, and in default root object we give index.html. Like if we go to the URL, it will open index.html file by default. and we'll just click on create distribution. To enable security, no need. Here is it is showing the S3 bucket policy needs to be updated. So we'll copy the policy. We'll go to update our S3 bucket. Just come down, go down, and in the bucket policy, go to edit, and here simply just paste it. So what does this JSON do? Basically, as I mentioned, S3 bucket is restricted. So we have to tell our S3 bucket that you are restricted, but allow this CloudFront to access you, like all the files that you have stored. Let this CloudFront access them. As it's showing that your resource are learning 112, and this CloudFront will access that. Simply save changes. Okay. Now if you go to your CloudFront, here it is showing deploying. Just simply refresh it. Wait for some moment. Just wait for some moment until it gets deployed. Once it is deployed, you will be getting to see the last modified date. Okay, as it is showing deploying. We'll wait for some moment. As you can see, last modified date is December. Current date and time. That means our S3 bucket, our CloudFront, this CloudFront is able to access S3 bucket now. So if I go to this domain name and I put it on browser, as you can see, our CloudFront is successfully able to deploy our front-end application on this domain. So our front-end application is successfully deployed. CloudFront is able to render our HTML files, CSS files successfully. Everything's working fine. What is our next task? Next task is to add our personal own domain name to this CloudFront. How can we do that? Let me show you. We'll simply go to edit option. We have to add our alternate domain name. So we'll click on add name. I'll give learning1.dev.site. Is my personal domain name that I have got. If you have on your own, that's good. Then learning1 is a subdomain. So now I'll create one SSL certificate. It will take us to Amazon Certificate Manager. This is another service that helps us to create SSL certificate to provide to our domain name. So I'll just click on next. I'll put the domain name that I added here. Paste it. Then just request it. It's in pending validation. So what we have to do next? As you can see, it has given us one CNAME and C value that we need to update in our DNS system, which will make sure like it works as a password. Like this SSL certificate belongs to my system. It will make sure that I have the access to this domain name. But it's kind of password kind of thing. I'll add new. I'll go CNAME. Put this thing on name and C value I'll copy. Add it down value. Just click on save. So it will update on DNS system. Okay, it is successfully updated. Here the status is showing validation, pending validation. We just need to wait for some time. Once it is verified, like as we have uploaded our C name and C value on DNS system, we have updated here, which will make sure that this uh, domain name belongs to me, which works as a validation. We just need to wait for some moment until it gets validated. Sometimes this validation takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes 15 minutes, and sometimes 1 hour, but it will be done within 48 hours. You just need to wait for some time. As you can see, status is showing issued, like our SSL certificate has been created. Now we just add that. On this drop down, choose certificate. Our learning one SSL certificate is showing. Just click on it. That is done. Now you just click on save changes. Now, like our SSL certificate is associated to our learning dev swamdev.site domain name. I'll simply copy this domain name and I'll create one more new record. Go to this and choose CNAME. This one will be on the section. Learning one.swamdev.site. Collaborated on DNS system. So what is that? So basically our front-end app for data is invalid. Okay. Okay, got it. So basically when we are giving this HTTPS will not be there. So our DNS is successfully updated. So like when people will hit to this domain name, like learning one, if I completely write the domain name complete one the site, this, as you can see, our front-end application is deployed on this site. Learning one, so like when people hit to this URL, I have updated in our DNS system, like if people hit to this subdomain, just redirect to this URL, and this URL renders, our CloudFront renders this application, which is this one. So this is how we deployed our front-end application on AWS successfully. I hope this video might have helped you and you might have enjoyed this video, and I'll come up with another learning video, so stay tuned, and I'll be glad if you could like and share this video. Thank you.